the weather got so cold out of nowhere. Like, I was freezing, so I came back, and now I'm like wrapped in my blanket because I'm so cold. Like, it's so freaking cold. So I thought to myself, like, okay, I cannot study in my room if I'm like playing with my phone, and so let me just go on live on TikTok so that I don't play with my phone and I can actually study. So this is like a study session with me. Yeah, so like everyone, I'm gonna study. And so I don't think I'll be able to like read all of your comments. So yeah, just in case you're asking like what I'm doing, I'm studying. So how do I like make an announcement that I'm studying? Or maybe I should like post a sticker so that how do I do this? Bruh. Where's the sticker? Draw and guess? No. Oh, where is it? It's not here. Boards? Stickers, there you go. Stickers. I'm just gonna write lagi belajar. Maybe. Wait, what? Nggak bisa baca komen. Okay. Hilang. Aduh. Bro. Jangan hilang dong. How do you do this? Stickers. Lagi belajar. Bisa baca komen. Here you go. Dah. Okay, belajar ya. Okay, so I was in this part. So chapter 5. So biomagnification. So we've learned about bio accumulation and bioconcentration. Now we're going to learn about biomagnification. So bio accumulation, the definition of bioaccumulation is basically the net accumulation of the toxicants or contaminants from all sources. So this is net accumulation, meaning that it already takes into account the uptake and also the eliminations and biotransformations of contaminants within the organism itself. And so it comes from all sources. This includes food, water, sediments, solid, surface, air, and other stuff, other sources, all sources, right? While bioconcentration refers to the net accumulation of toxicants or contaminants just from water source. So now we're going to talk about biomagnification. So in terms of biomagnification, it's basically an increase of the concentration of the contaminants throughout the trophic level. So from the lowest trophic level, the contaminants continuously increase throughout a higher trophic level, right? So also known as bioamplification or trophic enrichment, but it's not the same as bioaccumulation. Okay, so bioaccumulation, it only refers to that one specific organism or individual, while biomagnification is referring to the net increase throughout the trophic level. Yeah, and increase in concentration throughout the trophic level. A biomagnification is often used as a ruling theory. So ruling theory, remember, it's basically a set of assumptions or assumption that is believed by certain people or a certain population, by the general population, that is not always true and is often unreliable to be used as, as there's often used in precipitation explanation, which is unreliable. So yeah. So biomagnetism is often invoked as a ruling theory when alternate explanations are present. So for example, different lifetime of different species. So for example, if you think of a whale live a very long time. So you would think that a whale would accumulate a lot of these contaminants or toxicants. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it is a biomagnification, because all the whales would probably live in would probably be in a higher order trophic level, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a type of biomagnification. It's just because that will live for a very long time, for example. Or it can be also caused by allometry, or for example by what was the name? In terms of the it's hard to basically place a certain what was the name, organisms on this on the trophic level. It's hard to basically set a certain trophic level of the organism itself, and then different growth rates, different environments, different way of uptake, elimination, and stuff like that, varying lipid contents. Defining trophic status itself is difficult. So magnification is not always true. It can happen, but it's not always the case. Oftentimes. So there are three possible routes or fates of contaminants throughout the trophic level. First is trophic dilution, which means it's a reduction in the concentration of the contaminants throughout the trophic level. In terms of trophic dilution, one mechanism of trophic dilution is basically this thing called the bioreduction. So bioreduction is basically when you have a reduction in the bioavailability of the contaminants itself. For example, is calcium sinks that we talked about before. So calcium sinks are basically when these calcium analogs, such as radioactive radium or strontium, are being incorporated into let's say shells, hard shells of in clams and mollusk, which means that because the higher order trophic animals, they don't eat the shells, right? They only eat the meat inside of the shells, and so because of that, it creates this calcium sink in which the radioactive radium or strontium are not being taken or not being uptaken and accumulated throughout the higher trophic levels, and so that's one type of trophic dilution by bioreduction. Yeah, so bioreduction refers to the trophic dilution that arises from the rendering contaminants to be less bioavailable by incorporating them into assimilation to certain parts of the organism itself, while trophic dilution refers to just the decrease in the contaminant concentration throughout the trophic level. So for trophic dilution or biominification, so biomagnification, this is biominification. So trophic dilution can result from from the balance of metabolism, metabolic rates, elimination, uptake rates, uptake from fruit, internal transformation, and other stuff, which leads to the overall dilution throughout the trophic level. Or concentrations may be similar in both the predator and prey, which means concentrations are similar throughout the trophic level, from let's say concentration within a plankton into a fish into a freaking whale or something like that. It's all the same. So that's one possible route. And then another thing is that the what do you call that thing? What was the name? Biomagnification, in which the concentration continually increased throughout the trophic level. So those are three possible fate or contaminants when they're being transferred throughout the trophic level, right? So yeah, and so we also learned this thing called fugacity in the previous lecture. So fugacity is basically the tendency of a substance to escape a certain phase. So the fugacity of substances or molecules or compounds, they always go from a higher level of fugacity into a lower level of fugacity. So the higher the fugacity value is, the more likely or the higher the tendency is for that compound to escape that phase. So for example, a very lipophilic and hydrophobic compounds that usually are easily assimilated into tissues and cells of fish, for example, if that fish is being eaten by a larger fish, for example, so then you're basically having a transfer of that compound, that very lipophilic compound, from the tissues, which is also lipophilic, or lipids, for example, which is lipophilic, right? And so then it transfers into the aqueous phase while it's being eaten and being digested, transfers to aqueous phase, and then from that aqueous phase back to being assimilated into the lipids and membranes of the fish number 2, the larger fish. So that's kind of like the trends of the fugacity. You have as it moves along the trophic level, there's a fugacity amplification. So biomagnification, concentration and fugacity amplification is the biomagnification of a persistent hydrophobic compound, involves a concentration and fugacity. Yeah, blah blah blah. It's not required. But then another thing is that biomagnification is not required in order to have an adverse effects as a consequence of a trophic transfer. So what it means is that you don't necessarily need biomagnification or the increase of concentration of the contaminants throughout the trophic level in order for you to have an adverse effect. So what it means is that, for example, in the cadmium in the Itai disease, when you have the cadmium poisoning in the rice fields, so the rice field, when human eats the rice grains, right? So it's a trophic transfer from a lower trophic level to a higher trophic level, right? So when that happens, it doesn't necessarily mean that the cadmium itself biomagnify throughout the trophic level, because cadmium doesn't biomagnify, but it still leads to adverse toxic effects just because there's such a high concentration at the lower trophic level. And then when the higher trophic being eat that lower trophic being, then it leads to the adverse effects. So it's not always about the biomagnification. It just might be the case that there's a very high concentration in that lower trophic level. And so when the higher trophic order being is exposed to that, it leads to that subsequent adverse effect. So yeah, so we already talked about the three fates of the contaminants when it moves throughout the trophic order, such as the bioreduction, biomagnification, or it's just staying the same. And then we also talk about how one type of bioreduction is called one type of trophic dilution is called bioreduction, in which that specific contaminant is rendered less bioavailable by assimilation to that specific organism, such as the calcium zinc. So bioaccumulation from food is particularly important because foods, especially in the terrestrial region, because foods is because in terrestrial region you're not like living in the freaking water, and so you need and then you eat food, right? And so one route that you get exposed to this contaminants is from food. So tired, bruh. I'm like rapping. Birds as monitors for mercury pollution. So another thing is that mercuries, they get incorporated into amino acids, proteins that are rich in this cysteine, because cysteine has a thiol group, and that thiol group is really good at basically coordinating to the mercury itself, because the thiol group is a soft ligand. So the soft ligands, they tend to bind to soft metals, soft cations like mercury, and so they tend to accumulate in them. And keratin and feathers and hairs, they tend to have a lot of these keratins, proteins that is rich in the cysteine, because you remember that keratin has a disulfide bonds. You need to remember this. It's very important. Those disulfide bonds can be reduced. Would it be reduced or would it be oxidized? I don't know. Basically, the disulfide bond can be broken and it can bind to the mercury, and so and it leads to the shedding and the what do you call that? The mercury being eliminated through the hair and through the feathers. And so when these feathers are being shed or the hairs are being shed, those feathers and hair can be a biomarker. So biomarker is basically a biological sample to quantify the amount of or detect the amount of pollutants in them. Oh my god. Capek. Bruh. This is crazy. Anyway, so that's mercury. Yeah. Anthropogenic sources of mercury have increased considerably in industrial development. I'm so tired. Antok ko eh. I don't know why, but I want to throw up. I think kenapa. Kayaknya aku kebanyakan minum kopi. And ya begitu dah. And it's very cold right now. Kayak dingin banget sekarang. Sekarang itu kayak berapa ya derajatnya? 16 atau 14 gitu. 14 derajat. No. It was 12. 12 derajat. Are you crazy? Bro, 12 derajat. And then nanti jam 6 pagi bakal 3 derajat. Can you imagine 3 derajat? Crazy. Like, bro. So yeah, so it's very cold. So that's why I pakai selimut. Again, studying again. Wildlife provides an opportunity to monitor mercury pollution by sampling, animal tissues. And yeah, so basically, the easiest way to sample mercury is by using bird feathers. You can also sample like tissues and blood and eggs, but then that would be like too much of a hassle. So biologists and ecotoxicologists don't like that. So elemental and inorganic mercury tend to not enter the food chain, but rather end up in sediments. So remember, mercury. They For inorganic mercury, they tend to be less reactive than organic mercury because so because they just don't get incorporated into the food chain, right? But for organic mercury, they get easily incorporated to the food chain, especially methyl mercury and let's say ethyl mercury, because they're quite lipophilic, and because the bond itself is not very polar. Although it's a coordination bond, it's not very polar because tend to be a covalent type of non-polar bond. So organic is lipid soluble and tends to accumulate in tissues and biomagnify throughout the trophic chain. So, for example, when you eat a lot of these fish that have a lot of the mercury, you can actually get those mercury incorporated to your tissues and lipids and stuff like that. Some marine animals can demethylate mercury and store them in non-toxic form as a mercury selenite. So so basically, some marine mammals, they can incorporate the mercury in non-toxic form and sequester them away from being, toxic. Yeah. So is this a subject in your class? Yeah, it is. I wanna throw up. Ay, kebanyakan minum kopi. And ay kebanyakan makan dan sekarang ay tiduran. Guys, did you guys see the apa namanya live-nya Sonu with Jongwon? Enhypen. Speaking of Enhypen, kalian lihat nggak itu live-nya Sonu with Enhypen? There was this really sus part in live-nya Sonu and anyway. Kamu nggak lihat konser? Gimana bisa kan di Korea, mereka di Indonesia ya waktu itu konsernya. Dan I lagi mau midterm. Oh my god, I belum belajar sama sekali. It's okay, I can do this. So remember, conversion of the inorganic mercury into its organic form is important for its uptake in the food chain. And so these occurs usually in low pH and by bacteria. Certain microbes, they can convert the mercury into its organic form. Low pH, the methylation occurs when there's low oxygen levels and low pH and by bacteria. And high levels of organic compound dissolved in environments favored by sulfate-reducing bacteria. So remember that if you just think of it like this: if you have a lot of oxygen in the environment, that mercury would probably be oxidized, right? Would be probably oxidized and would be binding to oxygen. But then if you have a low oxygen level, then those bacteria that can basically methylate the mercury, they will do that. And so low oxygen, low pH. Also high amount of the organic compounds that are dissolved in that environment, and you have the presence of those bacteria, sulfate reducing bacteria that can transfer the mercury. So organic mercury is soluble in lipid, tends to bioaccumulate, and can also biomagnify in the food chain. And some mammals can basically neutralize demethylate the mercury and neutralize them to be less toxic by binding them and sequestering them in as a mercury selenite crystals. Crystal mercury selenite. Compared to fish, birds and mammals have more opportunity to secrete. Yeah, so compared to fish, birds and mammals, they usually secrete the mercury in their hair by binding to growing hairs and feathers and to in their eggs. The sulfur-containing amino acid present largely in keratin. So I was right. I was right about the keratin being able to basically bind to the. What happened? Is it still lagging? I hope it's not lagging anymore. Is it lagging? Is it masih lagging, guys? Is it masih lagging? Okay. Changes in mercury levels. So, in here, in this figure, what happens is that there's an increased concentration of mercury in the feathers of the birds when they eat a lot of the mercury, a lot of foods that contain mercury. So that means it is correct that mercury, that feathers can be used as biomarkers for mercury in birds. Yeah. And changes in mercury levels in marine food chains can be seen from studies of mercury levels in feathers and seabirds. So one way that you can basically measure, estimate the assimilation in SWAN metric for estimating contaminants transfer between members of different trophic levels. Assimilation can be measured by twin tracer technique. So a technique that introduces a radio tracer of the substance being assimilated and an inert tracer which will not be assimilated and to which the substance of interest assimilation will be gauged. A what? So assimilation of a 14C labeled organic compound is compared to the amount of notionally inert 51 chromium fed simultaneously to a what the fuck? Okay. The radionuclide is used to trace or quantify the movement of a stable nuclide is assumed to behave identically in chemical analytical processes. I don't know, man. What is this? Advantage of pairing the inner. I don't really understand what this means. I mean, I get it. You basically introduce a radionuclide, a radiotracer of the substance that will be assimilated, and you also introduce an inert tracer that will not be assimilated. So, for example, 14C carbon and 51 chromium. And so the inert tracer will kind of gauge how the to which the substance of interest assimilation will be gauged. But then how? How exactly? Like what? I don't understand. Specific activity concept. So they're saying that the radionuclide used to trace or quantify the movement of a stable nuclide is assumed to behave identically in chemical and biological processes. What the fuck is this? I don't understand. One of the something of adjusted materials. Oh. Okay. What? What? Um. Oh. So it just tells you how long it is. Quantify the movement, but how? So we're just like, oh, I don't understand. Anyway, I don't understand. Anyway, it's fine. I do understand. I will understand. Defining trophic status of a species is challenging, meaning means of identifying trophic species are laboratory experience, field surface, natural biochemical tracers within food webs. Fatty acids as trophic markers. I would like a ring, I would like a ring, I would like a diamond ring. You guys know that? Oh, did I just flush you guys? I'm sorry. I would like a ring, I would like a ring, I would like a diamond ring. So then they use the isotopic discrimination effect. So isotope effect, so basically what they're doing is that they're introducing 15 nitrogen and 14 nitrogen. And so the 15 isotope of the nitrogen, the heavy isotope of the nitrogen will be retained in the body for a longer period of time because the body is just not used to processing that nitrogen, while the 14 nitrogen will be excreted out more easily. So that means that the more accumulation of the 15 nitrogen, the heavy isotope of the nitrogen, that means that that organism is in higher trophic level. So the effects of isotope mass on the rate of extents which participates. Yeah, so the isotopic discrimination is just it's kind of like a way of quantifying or predicting the trophic order because of the different rates in which the isotope mass on affects the rate of the biochemical processes and assimilation. So there's some difference in kinetic energy of the associated molecules with slightly different masses that they contain different isotopes of an element. Discrimination ratio measuring the degree of isotopic discrimination with a ratio of 1 indicating no discrimination. Stop discrimination! Discrimination ratio is a ratio measuring the degree of isotopic discrimination. If the ratio is 1, then there is no discrimination. I would like a ring, I would like a ring, I would like a diamond ring. And I do know the lyrics. So quotient of nitrogen isotope 14N and 15N. So basically in order to normalize to the isotopic ratio of air as a reference. So 15N sample over 14N sample over 15N air, 14N air minus 1 times 1000. So units are in per mil, not percent, but in per mil. So the delta 15N increases with each trophic exchange because 14N is more readily excreted than 15N. Average in 3.4 per mil increase of 15N per trophic exchange. I would like a ring, I would like a ring. I would like a diamond ring. Da 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 da. Ako kedinginan. Wait. I'm actually not wearing anything right now, so like I need to like cover up with this one. So I'm just gonna do that because I need to search something. I want to search the thingy. So
Get to the docks.
oh no.
Split up. We cannot let them leave the city.
Do you guys know this there's this series called The Wheel of Time. It's canceled by Amazon, which is unfortunate, but then like it was canceled by Amazon. But so The Wheel of Time is like a fantasy series. I love The Wheel of Time. And yeah. It's so good.
You will not leave the city alive.
Oh my god, this part is so cool, bro. It's crazy. No. Anyway, I was about to listen to music while I'm studying. What was the name of that thing? I would like a ring. I would like a ring. I would like a ring. I would like a diamond ring. Na 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 na. Do I? Tell me, na 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 na. I would like a ring, I would like a ring, I would like a diamond ring on my favorite finger. I would like a big and shining diamond that I could wave around and talk about it. And when the day is hurt for me, without it. What the fuck? It's so hard to sing because it's so fast. Like. You got it. And when the day is here, give me blah 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 blah. Do I? Diamond. Anyway, I love this song. Where's My Husband by Ray. Where's my husband? To find me. Where's my husband? Baby, where the hell is my husband? What's taking so long? Find me, oh baby. Where the hell is my lover? Getting down on the lover. Shiny diamond that I can wave around and talk about it. And when the days say forgive me, cause that I can never doubt it. Just to me, help me, Lord, and teach you to tell me, baby. But as my husband, what's taking so long? Just calling me, oh, baby. But as my husband,
your husband is coming.
Your husband is coming. The story of Genesis, but it's Gnostic. Glass to gold. How I turned glass to gold. What? Bruh. Nuclear fission. Atom editing. That's crazy. And then it says to me, I also like this. Dude.
No string section, no tiny violin. For the last time, I'm your audience. I'll take this front row seat. And baby, you can go ahead and try I need you to go ahead. Go ahead and just cry. Go ahead, cry those hearts that
amazing. Ray. I love Ray. And then there's Cynthia Erivo. I like this.
Stop trying to be someone how cold and cruel is the man who paid too much for what he got? And if you need me, I can
Okay. Sekarang belajar lagi. Okay, belajar lagi sekarang. Anyway, so we talked about how we can basically quantify, or I guess yeah, we can talk about we talked about how we can basically quantify the amount of toxicants that get assimilated when traffic transfers occur when across different traffic levels, and that is using the twin tracer method. Basically, twin tracer method, you have a one radionuclide that is embedded, a radio tracer, an active radio tracer that is embedded in the organic compound, and you have a inert or radio tracer. So basically, the inner radio tracer kind of can gauge the amount of assimilation of the radio tracer itself. So yeah, so radio tracer will be assimilated while the inner tracer will not be assimilatable and will gauge the amount of assimilation of the substance of interest. So assimilation of the 14C carbon, that is incorporated into the organic compounds, and then for example in a contaminants, and then you also feed the organism with the 51, was it 51? Yeah, 51 chromium fed simultaneously into an organism, and then you basically so, and then because the way it works, because there's this thing called the specific activity concept, in which the radionuclide will basically have similar activity and reactivity and assimilation pattern with the inner tracer, and therefore that's how they can basically use. We're going to use the trace and quantify the movement, or quantify the movement of a stable nuclide is assumed to behave identically in chemical and biological processes. Oh, I see. I'm confused. So are they? Anyway. So there's isotophic discrimination. I'm a bit confused. Baby, when I was my husband, I was taking him so long to find me. Okay, sekarang I mau belajar lagi. Bima nggak pakai baju. pakai. Pakai, why you crazy? You crazy, bro. Di sana udah winter, bentar lagi mau winter. Udahan belajarnya, mau belajar lagi, but like, I don't know, mager. I have to belajar, but like, I don't know, man. Oke, udahan dulu udahan dulu ya. Iya, udahan. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching this live.